pledge, so we can stand. This year's budget, the 2024-2025 budget, and then I'll pass it over to Jeff, and he will, the superintendent, Jeff Newton, and he will go through it in a little more detail than I will. So, when looking at the budget, just a few quick points. So, we worked hard to get as lean a budget as we can, fiscally responsible, that is also meeting our educational needs. We are challenged, as many districts and many businesses are, with that inflation is high, healthcare costs continue to rise, utility costs continue to rise, and we're all trying to manage that while still being able to provide a high-quality education to our students. So when you look at this budget, you're going to see it's pretty fairly straightforward. There's nothing that's really out of the ordinary from what you would see from our normal budgets year over year, with one exception. I'm going to talk for a minute about that exception, then I'll pass it over to Jeff. The one exception is we did put in $250,000 for facility improvements. And what we have, $250,000.
No,
I said thousand, okay. $250,000. I don't want to catch myself on that. $250,000 for facility improvements for this year. And what you see over the years, especially in the building in the high school that we're in now, we've predominantly been on a break-fix budget for facilities. We obviously renovated the elementary schools. We have a middle school that's relatively new, but it's still 20 years plus old. But the high school, for over 20 years, has for the most part been on a break-fix budget. And we have not invested. And if you get a chance to tour and look around, there's clearly opportunities and things that we need to do to invest in the school to help the culture and climate of this school. In the auditorium, which you may not be able to see at home on the recording, but if you know the auditorium, there's a left and a right wing. Those, we would like to turn those into classroom space where we can teach from an auditorium perspective or from a lecture perspective. If you look at the locker rooms at the high school, they are in dire need of repair, upgrading, investment. The library looks like a traditional library that you would have built 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or longer. And there's some opportunity in the library to maybe create some meeting space, conference room space, places where students and teachers can collaborate. So there's some investments that we need to make. We've put in $250,000 to get that. That's only going to get you so far, but it's a start. And we want to start investing in the high school and other schools as well. But predominantly, I think to start, it's in the high school, and there's some clear areas that can have a real impact on the culture and climate for our students, our teachers, and the rest of our staff. So that's the biggest difference than our normal budget that we've included. And I'll pass it over to Jeff, who'll go through in more detail.
Good evening, everyone. Let me start with just a little bit of a recap for our folks who might view this recording, which we will publish it after this meeting. We always start our budget workshop, our budget process with budget workshops. There's 2 budget workshops this year. We do that same process every year. Budget workshop number 1 was November 20th, and budget workshop number 2 was December 14th. We open those up, they're public meetings, we try and be as transparent as possible with the process from the start, and it is a lengthy process. Those meetings allow us to discuss needs, to discuss dollars, and discuss planning. And that leads us to the budget presentation, the superintendent's budget presentation, which occurs in January. Some numbers pertaining to the last 2 years, and as we heard last year, this year, and next year. Back in 22-23, we came in the red preliminary budget. That was through those initial workshops. We came out with an initial 7.03% increase. After going through the entire process, months, Board of Ed, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, 2022-23 ended up with a referendum and a final budget of 3.64 for the Board of Education. 23-24, very challenging year last year. We came out of the gate at a 10.19% increase, one of our highest percent increases that I had seen in my 10 years here. Ultimately, at referendum, it was approved at a 6.80%. You can see 24-25, out of the gate, fairly favorable. We were at a 6.89% increase. We worked through that and ended up with a 6.08 presented in January. That was the superintendent's budget, 6.08. Since then, we've done some initial work, discussions with the board through the month of January into February, and it now sits at a 5.77% increase. Just to kind of break that down, number-wise, current year operating budget, $57,789,852. Proposed at the 6.08 was just over $61 million. Proposed at the 5.77 is now down to a total budget of $61,124,675 for next year. What adjustments did we do to get from the 6.08 to the 5.77? This is a reflection of those adjustments. In the 6.08 that was presented through my budget, we were at a 10% insurance increase. We have dropped that down to a 6% insurance increase going into next year. We hope that that will be even lower as we await further state information for the final overall percent increase for the state partnership plan with insurance. So that saved us $288,000. Salaries and benefits, we have 2 positions as a result of retirement that through attrition that will not be filled at the elementary level. Those remain in there. Reduction of $191,884 does not impact anyone's job. Middle school sports, we added some additional middle school sports into next year's budget to the tune of $10,000. Estimated increase in school nurses. VNA has stepped away, the Visiting Nurse Association has stepped away from us for next year. We're hiring our own nurses. We're going to be planning to share a nurse supervisor potentially with the neighboring districts. That estimated nursing increase is around $60,000. We had some savings in contracted service that we found over the last few weeks, $17,000. And then Mr. Baumann, our chairman of the board, spoke about the building improvements, $250,000. Factor all that in, it brings the overall increase for next year to a 5.77. Fixed expenses, we always like to share this slide. 96.05% of our operating budget is fixed expenses. Those are contracts, negotiated contracts, which we cannot change, we cannot adjust without negotiations to occur. Just both the teachers, our salaries across the district, all departments, teachers, paras, custodians, everyone. That, as well as health insurance, is roughly 4% of our 5.77% increase. So you can see it's a large amount of those fixed expenses. And we have a small sliver, 3.95, that we're able to play with, but we need those things as well. A little bit of information. Many of you have seen, if you're part of the process through the last few weeks and last couple months, at the elementary level, our class sizes, this is a guideline. This is a regulation that we have under policy for guidelines for class sizes at the elementary level. K and 1, we look to have no more students than 18 in a class. 2 and 3, 20, and grade 4, a high cap of 22. At the middle school, we try and sit between 20 to 24 students, and at the high school, we maintain currently 10 students or above for those classes. I mentioned earlier that we are reducing 2 positions at the elementary level, 1 position at Niantic Center School. You can see that's a grade 3 for next year, at the top, and then down here in Flanders, we have 1 reduction at grade 4. There's our two reductions, and it still leaves our average class sizes looking very favorable going into next year. They're comparable to this year, and we're trying to work very hard to keep those at the amount that provides the teachers and our staff and everyone the necessary supports and ability to do the fabulous work that they do in the classroom. Kindergarten, I will just mention there's some notes over the side pertaining to kindergarten. Those are estimates, our kindergarten numbers. We're still working through those and final numbers as we go into the spring and as well as the summer, and kindergarten enrollment is underway as we speak. Middle school and high school, we shared this slide earlier in some of our presentations. Total middle school, no real change. There's 2 students estimated to change in population from 695 total enrollment to 697. High school drops a little bit. There's a bubble that's going through. It went through the middle school a few years ago, down to the high school level, 930 down to projected estimated 903 for total count. What's in the 5.77 for new positions? And I did mention the middle school sports. That one is second from the bottom. But we've added, if you go back up to the top, we've added a special education teacher, or planning to add a special education teacher position at the middle school. A board-certified behavioral analyst stipend, so we provide a stipend to our BCBA. A board-certified behavioral analyst hiring of a 0.5 position, which would allow us to offset and eliminate a contracted service, which will save us some money. It's a more expensive option. An additional English language learner, multi-language, we now have changed the term to multi-language teacher, multi-language learners. That is added in, so there will now have 3 MLL teachers across the district. We currently have 2. Some team leader stipends for our social workers, school psychologists, and speech pathologists. We have team leader stipends across our grade levels, and we will be providing them for those departments as well, just 1 per department. I mentioned the sports, and then at the bottom, an additional high school stipend for marching band, for 2 marching band instructors. And that total, just so you can see, was 196,631. So those are in the proposed 5.77% increase for next year. Special education prevalence rates. Just want to share that you saw we're adding a middle school special education teacher. Well, these prevalence rates continue to go up, both for our district here in East Lyme as well as across the state. The state actually hasn't caught up. Their number is a little bit higher than that 16.7 that you see there. But our prevalence rate, and this is last year's numbers. We still are waiting for this year's numbers, but last year we were at 19%. You can see it's gone up from where we were back in 18-19 at 14%. Now we're at 19%. Approximately 500 students who receive special education services across our district of a population of 2,650 total students. Grants, we've done very well this year in receiving and working hard to obtain grants and grant funding to the tune of just over $1 million to help support our programs, help support our students, help support our staff and departments. So we're very proud of the fact that we have approved that dollar amount, and that is definitely helping, and it's allowed some additional positions, again, that are already underway this year and will roll into the coming 2 years as well. So we're proud of that fact. We'll keep working on additional grants that come forward to our district. Lastly, I want to share capital items. Capital is a big piece. Mr. Baumann talked about this room and the needs that the high school has. We also have some other big capital items that are part of the capital improvement plan for the town. Three of them are roof replacements, one being the Aquatic Center roof replacement, the top there for $1 million. If you drop down, we have Lily B. Haynes, we have Niantic Center, the two bottom ones here. We need to replace the roof at Lily B. Haynes and the roof at Niantic Center. And our community might say, you know what, you renovated those elementary schools just 5 or 6 years ago, how come they weren't done then? Well, they weren't eligible yet for reimbursement, which we get just over 40% for reimbursement on roof projects. And we only had so much money, and they weren't quite ready, so we could get some more years out. Hence, we did not renovate those two roofs. The Flanders elementary school roof was done for the projects. So we get 40% reimbursement on those two. We also get reimbursement for the Aquatic Center roof replacement, too. We would get reimbursement for that as well. The other big one, second from the top, the track and turf field replacement. We're in need of replacing turf field and the track. It is approximately 11 years old. They have a lifespan of 10 to 15 years. I think our track has served, or our turf field has served us very well. That gets use constantly. Kids are out on it today. It's February. So if there's no snow on it and it's clear, kids are out using it all year long, as well as community members on weekends and evenings. So in addition to those big roof projects and the track and turf replacement, we have some ongoing exterior window and door replacements that have been phased in. We're in phase 2, 3, and 4. Phase 4 actually for an HVAC component at the high school. Middle school, we are finalizing the last phase of a roof component, adding an additional tarring of that roof. It's not a roof replacement, but it's giving us extended life. So we phase that into our capital projects over the last few years. So it gives us another 20 years on that roof, so we won't have to spend millions to replace it. So that's in phase 4. And continued building envelope repairs and sealants of brickwork at the middle school as well as one last piece, HVAC, phase 3 HVAC replacement, HVAC units at the middle school too. So there's a lot of, $9 million of capital improvements that we have as a district. I know the town, I believe, has around $9 million, so next year's budget for capital is about $18 million across the town and the district. Something we've talked about, we do not want to keep pushing these down the road. We want to get projects done so we don't get jammed up with multiple high-cost projects as the years go on that are going to have a greater impact on our town. So with that being said, that's the information for next year's 23 or 24, 25 budget, I should say. And we're excited to do the work, and we'll move this forward to our special meeting. We'll be up for questions. Mike's here. Anybody have a question, thought, or sharing that information? Questions? We'll ask again. It's 1/3 time. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions, or anything they want to share? Okay, with that, I'll turn it back to Mr. Baumann to close out the meeting.
Thanks, Jeff, and hearing no questions. Jamie has made a motion to adjourn. Stefan has seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? And the public hearing is adjourned.